All right, welcome back. So I recently started playing around with different agentic coding tools, mostly focused around codecs, because I wanted to learn about them as they're relevant to my day job. And we could talk all day about what a tremendous shift I think is happening in that industry, but that's not the purpose of this video. When I started playing with those tools, I wanted to figure out a project that I could do that would help me learn the tooling and also maybe provide something useful both to myself and maybe to you as well. So, what I decided to do was build a home lab management tool. And when I set out to do it, I didn't think about any tools that exist. I didn't want to go research or download anything or install anything. I just decided to create something from scratch that would be roughly what I wanted and have a foundation to build on more what I wanted. And what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to show you the tool I built, put this up on GitHub, and we'll talk about that at the end. And the idea is I'm going to keep working on this, but you can work on it too. You'll be able to submit issues to me or feature requests. And hey, maybe with the help of these wonderful coding tools, we can get this to be an even better tool that everyone likes. You could even take the code yourself and run with it. But let me do this. Before showing you the setup or all that, I'm just going to show you how it works. And you can decide after seeing it if this is something you're interested or not. If you don't like it, you can just leave and move on to the next video. And then at the end, I'll talk about like the GitHub side of it and the contributions. So why don't we just jump in and I'll show you what it does. And so, well, after you go through the initial setup, which just involves running a script and running Docker, now you just set an admin password, and it's super simple at this point in time. There aren't users and roles or everything. There's just one account. It's the admin, so you just set that. And when you jump into the tool, you're greeted with not too exciting dashboard. But let me walk you through what it is, and I'll show you how the functionality kind of gets brought into this. So this idea is this is your main dashboard for your entire home lab. And you could think of it as like other dashboarding tools or almost like link collectors that you've seen elsewhere. And the idea is this is a configurable dashboard where you can add links, like basically buttons to your various services. Like if you have, say, Pi-hole or Plex or something else, you can put all those here. So you get one click off to those services and you can see them. You can add different types of observability to the screen, and you can add different metrics, and you can even add widgets which are driven by AI, and we'll get into that in a bit. So if you were to, you could just go in and edit this, and you can see you can add different groups. You can change the color of the groups if you want them to stand out in a certain way or just get highlighted a little differently. And then here you can go ahead and you can add your tiles. So if you wanted to add a Pi-hole tile, you could do that. And you just give it the URL. Very simple. And of course, you can drag these and rearrange them, delete the groupings, etc. So in here, you can move these around, right? Pretty standard stuff. You can add widgets based on different metrics in the underlying data store, and you can play around with all that. But that's actually not where I would start, because I'll show you how you can get all that done for free. So if you come down here into settings, well, first I have to tell you, you know what? When something else writes the code for you, adding random features is super easy. You can just tell it, make me a UI theming feature, and you get one for zero effort. So of course you can choose from a nice set of UI themes. So we'll just go with this one. Anyway, so coming back to the dashboard, hold off on setting this up for now, because I'll show you some other features. The dashboard agent, this is part of the AI piece I'll come back to. Here on the host lists is everything this tool is aware about, all the hosts in your home lab, all the containers, etc. You can see right here, it's not aware of anything, but we're going to fix that in a minute. Here you can set up different network monitors, and these allow you to monitor different services that can generate alerts, etc. And then you can also describe the monitor in English. Like you don't have to fill out this form. You can just type in English, and behind the scenes, it's going to use an OpenAI call to parse that into these fields here. And once you get the AI going, it will go and suggest a set of monitors to set up based on your configuration. Alerts are very similar. These will create rules off the monitors and let you know if something is out of line. The service discovery section is a way for this to go automatically find all the services in your home lab. So this will go out, it'll probe your network, and it has signatures for common services like Pi-hole, Plex, Chasm, Image, and it will find those and automatically start monitoring them for you. And then moving on from service discovery, down here in the agent management section, this is where you can actually install an agent on each of the hosts in your home lab that you want to monitor, and it'll do it right from this UI. Here is where you can ask the AI assistant different questions about your home lab, and it'll take all the data it knows, pass that, and give you some results. So that's the quick tour, and it's probably not very impressive, but why don't we set up a few things so we can see how it looks. So a good place to start is to install a monitoring agent on a machine in your home lab. So over here, I'll show you. I just set up a couple VMs. I have agent test 1 and 2 here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to install agents on each of these. And once that agent gets set up, it'll start sending metrics and information back to this console. So I'll show you what that looks like. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this install agent section. I'm just going to do a manual target since there's no existing host right now. And I will just enter the IP address of that directly. And I'll enter the SSH credentials as well. So once you get those entered, you can just hit create and run install, and it'll go over to the host and install this agent for you. So we'll just do that. And you can see down here in the install queue, it is getting set up and running. Right here, you can see the output. And it's running the installer, and you can see the install succeeded. So great. So that host I just showed you should have the agent installed. And now if we go over to the host page, you can see that host is there and it's getting monitored. And of course, you can go into the host, and now you can look at different bits of information on this host as well. You can look at basic metrics on it. And for each of these, this is where you can start to add these onto your dashboard. So if you were really interested in watching the CPU usage on this host, you can one click, add it to your dashboard. Go over here, and there it is. It's added to your favorites by default. Of course, you can go in and edit this to your liking. Now, if we go back to the host, there's a whole bunch of other information shown here, such as when telemetry is collected. It shows all the services running on the host and their status, and it does a basic inventory and summary of the host. Now, once you get the AI side set up, which is basically involves adding an OpenAI key, it'll run a lot of this through OpenAI to provide better summaries of this, and you'll see that in a minute. While you're looking at this host, you could actually just open an SSH section directly to it. So there you go. If you needed to log into the host to check something out, you can do it right from this screen. And interestingly, if you go back to the host list, you can open a terminal right from this screen as well. You don't even need to dive in. We have one thing set up. While we're at it, why don't we just add another agent for the second host? So you can see we just queued up another installation. It's running. You can look at the output here. All right, and that succeeded as well. So if we come back over to the host list, we should see agent test 2. There we go. Everything's looking good. Same idea. You can come in and add those to the dashboard. Now, let's bring this back to the service discovery section. Remember I said on the dashboard, you could add links here to, say, Pi-hole and everything else, but normally you'd have to manually configure them. Well, with service discovery, it'll go out and try to find the different services on your network, like I said before. It relies on having one of these agents running to do it. This function the service discovery function won't work until you get an agent out there and running. So now we have one. So what we'll do is I'm just going to run the service discovery pass. And what you do is you just give it the subnets that you want to scan. So I'll just enable subnet scanning. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give 2 that I use a lot. Now, you may want to look into the advanced options. This can take a little while as it scans. I'm just going to bump up the number of hosts it looks for. I don't have nearly that many. And I'll just increase the timeout. I'll let it do its thing. And I'll just save this configuration because once you get this set up, it will run this on a periodic basis. You can actually see this down here, and you'll see the raw logs from it as well. So it'll run this periodically, or you can just run it yourself. So I'm just going to click run now. And you can see discovery is in process. Now, this may take a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll just wait and come back when it's done. All right, now that the service discovery process has finished, let me show you what it produces. And you'll see it says running here. That's actually because the schedule task started again. But if you go back down here, you can click on this completed task and you can see everything it found in the service discovery. So that's pretty neat. And if you want, you can look at the raw console logs and see what it found when it was doing that. So it did the service discovery. It found a bunch of stuff, but you will see that brought to your attention back here on the dashboard. And what I'll say is there's new links available. Now, remember earlier I said, like, don't go adding Pi-hole and everything else on your own. Just wait a minute. And so this is why you can wait. So what it'll do is it'll take those services it found and it'll suggest them to you as links to add to your dashboard. So I can click review suggestions. It puts me into edit mode. And here is everything it found. Now, it's not perfect. Some of these may not make sense, but I'll just show you. So I have a Jenkins server. Yep, I can add a tile for that. It'll ask where I want to put it. I think my favorites is fine. It found Pi-hole, probably found a couple of them. I'll add a Pi-hole one. That's great. Found Plex. I'll add that. Perfect. And so there, I didn't have to configure these. So I will just save my changes. And there you go. Now I have quick links to those services as well. So if I click on Plex, there you go. I get over to Plex. I can go over to Pi-hole. Perfect. And then now that that service discovery has run, you can come over to the host section and you can see all those hosts it found. And remember, none of these have the agent installed. So it's very basic monitoring on these, but you can still go into them. You get basic information as much as it can get, and you can even SSH to it and everything else. All right, now let's talk about the AI side of things. I've said this, I mentioned it a couple times as I went through, but different features in this leverage OpenAI's APIs to help with reasoning about data, summarizing information, etc. Now, right now, it only supports OpenAI. If you wanted to support more, that's probably pretty darn easy to add at this point. So here's how you configure it. You will need an OpenAI key, which means you'll be responsible for any of the costs associated with API usage. So if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. Just some of the features won't work. So right here is where you enter your OpenAI key. So I'm just going to go ahead and put one in, and I'll click save. And once you do that, various features are enabled that uses AI in the background. And you can even see here, you can configure the personality of the AI. And this is included in the calls that are sent to OpenAI as well. Okay, now that that is going, let's go take a look at the dashboard agent. So what this will do, the dashboard agent runs on a periodic basis, and it pulls together a bunch of information from your Homelab dataset, information about what host you have, metrics, alarms, etc. And it sends it off using that AI to basically get a summary and help you understand what are things you might want to look at. It does run on a periodic basis. You can configure how often it runs. You can see it's set for every 5 minutes. This is something you may want to think about if you're thinking about like the cost of that API call. But we'll go ahead and run it and see what it comes back with. All right, so it came back pretty quick, and you can see it highlights the latest information it got from calling OpenAI. And you can see no monitors configured while many services exist. So that's pretty interesting, right? I didn't tell it that. I just kind of sent off like, hey, what monitors exist, what services exist, etc. No progress on the subnet scan, probably because that's in flight. But you can go through these, and if you find this useful, maybe this kind of allows you to look across your environment and see what actions you want to take. If not, you can always just shut it off. You can also go into the AI assistant area, and you can ask it questions about a particular host or about your home lab in general. So you could say, you could ask specifically about the host that's aware of a question, or you can ask a general question like, let's ask what's broken right now. And similarly, it'll gather up all the information and send it off. I'm actually kind of curious on the response because I don't think anything's broken. Oh, interesting. So there you go. Short answer, nothing is actively alarming, but there's a monitoring gap. And yeah, like we saw on the other page, no monitors configured, etc. You can ask it different questions and it helps you kind of probe through your home lab just to see what's going on. You have to make the decision on if the API spend is worth it to you. And then if we go back to the dashboard, you can actually add widgets to the dashboard that use this AI functionality behind the scenes. So right here, this widget, what should I look at first right now? It's basically running that question behind the scenes every 5 minutes and also what's broken. You can see it just came back with that answer as well. So you can see some of this functionality where it's leveraging OpenAI is sprinkled throughout the interface. And so if you like it, great. You can also just turn it off by removing the AI key. So another thing I want to show you is the Proxmox integration. So if you go over to the settings menu, you can see right here, there's a Proxmox integration setting. And what you need to do is go over to your Proxmox host and you can create an API token ID and token secret and paste it in here along with the URL. And then I'll show you what happens. Okay, we got all that configured. I will save the integration and we could test it or sync it, whatever you want. So I'll just do sync. And as soon as you do that, you'll notice over here, the Proxmox tab shows up and you can click into that. And what you will see is a very simplified interface for your Proxmox server. Now, of course, if you want the full functionality, go into the Proxmox menu. But if you just want to take a look at the VMs and containers that are running, this will do it for you. And you can have basic functionality on them like start, stop, reboot, etc. So just to prove it to you, you can see there's the server here called Ubuntu Dev Server. It says it is stopped. And I'll just show you over on my Proxmox window, you can see the same server is stopped. So what I'll do is we'll just start it up and we'll watch the Proxmox window. And here it is. The server is starting and off it goes. So there you go. Basic Proxmox integration that, will help you out from switching out of the tool. Here's what we'll do now. That was the quick tour. I hope it gives you a sense of what's possible today, but let's talk about how we can make this better. So all of this is checked into GitLab. You can go grab it, have fun with the code and do whatever you want. There's a README file that takes you through what you need to do to install it. It's pretty much like run this environment setup script and run Docker Compose. And with some luck, you're off and running. But this is to bring it back to the top. I said I was playing around with code generation tools like Codex, etc. And what's amazing is now with the ability of these tools, we can iterate on this very quickly. And you can help build this. Even if you don't know how to write code, you can help just by providing suggestions, features, bug fixes, etc. Because with your input, it's very easy to take this, hand it to an AI agent. It can generate the code needed, and I can review that and make this whole system better. So like I said, of course, you can grab the code and have fun. But if you just want to get features added to this or you have suggestions, go ahead and submit an issue. You can submit an issue and you can submit a bug report, a feature request, or anything else. I would advise you, please use one of the predefined templates because that makes it much easier to incorporate in my workflow. And I can grab that and get it implemented in some reasonable amount of time when I have a chance to look at it and try it out. So that is it. That's the story. So this was super fun for me to build. Love to get your feedback on if it's useful to you, and I'd love to see some ideas on how this can be made better. With that, we'll leave it here and we'll see you next time.